Welcome, parents and guardians. Quick question. Did you learn how to manage money as a kid? For many of us, personal finance wasn't taught at home or in school, and we had to figure it out the hard way, often picking up bad habits we wish we hadn't. Today, we are diving into the essential do's and don'ts of teaching kids about money, starting right at home. From helping young kids save with a simple jar to guiding teens in budgeting and avoiding debt traps, we will cover practical tips you can start to use now. Schools might be catching up on financial education today, but there's no replacement for the lessons that you can teach within the four walls of your home. Ready to set your kids up for financial confidence and freedom? Let's get started. Let's go.
Welcome to the Financial Mirror. Where future success is reflected in our knowledge of fixing the one thing we can control, ourselves.
Welcome to the Financial Mirror, and thanks for joining me today as we continue to work to improve the one thing that we can control, ourselves. Here at the Financial Mirror, it is not about the numbers and spreadsheets alone, but about transforming and educating you on money so that you can make smarter financial decisions. If this is the first time you are joining in, don't forget to hit subscribe on YouTube to be notified of all the new episodes as they release. If you're listening to this on Rumble, don't forget to follow the channel and like the video, and on any podcast platform of your choice, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. So, as I started out with the introduction, many of us, and I mean most people, probably like around, if you're around 30 right now, 30 and older, you probably went through school without any formal financial education. Most of the time, we've either picked up habits from our parents, from peers, or just simply through trial and error. But that has led many people to mistakes, many people to financial setbacks. And today, I want to explore how you now, as a parent, can set your kids up for success. And this involves introducing personal finances skills early on in their life. There are multiple studies out there that many people aren't taught about money management until adulthood. And that's a problem. You oftentimes, as you're coming up through your teenage years into your young adult years, there is probably a lot. Think back. Let's take a moment, and you can add this in the comment section below if this is you. But think back to all the opportunity for money that you've had. Maybe you had some huge windfalls that came in your young adulthood. Maybe you had a job and you have nothing to show for it. Like all of these things, back when you had the job and very little responsibility. That's the job I'm talking about. The one that I'll pump gas in boats. Like that was my thing. But how much of that money did I do good with versus how much of that did I blow on things that I have nothing to show for it, right? So a little bit of financial education back there in my life would have been great. But how many of you had that opportunity? How many of you have gone through years where you look back and you're like, man, like if I would have just known what I know now, I would have managed that better, or I would have managed that whatever, that windfall, that tax return, that whatever better, had I been educated at that time. Or maybe you're at a point now where you're just now getting off your feet. You're just now getting out of debt. You're just now building that emergency fund. And you're like, I don't want my kids to go through this. I want to teach my kids how to manage money. That's what this episode's about. Because many people do. They go through trial and error. It leads them to mistakes. They pick up financial habits that are just not very good. And I want to talk about how we can get ahead of that in a young child's life, right? Like in our own kid's life, how can we start to teach that and grow that muscle? Because managing money is a muscle and you have to work that thing. But I want to talk about that today because we are seeing, I don't want to take away from, but we are seeing schools start to catch up. Schools are starting to teach financial education. I think Florida was one of the big schools that had an initial huge push to get financial education into school. earlier on in kids' life so they can learn, they can grow, and they can develop that skill. But I will tell you, even if your child's school has or doesn't have a personal finance education curriculum, nothing replaces foundational money lessons that you can teach in the home. Nothing replaces it. The school's not going to replace that. It's not. And I say that because you, in a school setting, you have to teach, coach, and mentor to the least common denominator. And I don't say that in a mean way, but it is the truth. In your home, you know what your child has access to, right? You know that maybe you started 10 years ago a college fund. So where your child starts in terms of saving for college versus where another child that their family may not have set up that 529 yet, you're in two different places. But your child is going to learn and grow to the least common denominator. So if you're teaching, if you go through the baselines and they understand budgeting and they understand, basic money management, you can start to grow that person. The school is going to stop at kind of that. They're going to teach you budgeting. They're going to teach you about what an investment is, what the stock market is, like how to get invested, put into your 401k, go and, make sure that you build a good savings account. Like they're going to teach that stuff, but that's where it stops. In your home, you get to take the next step further. You get to coach, mentor, and guide your children to kind of understand where they're at and where they can go with it. So all that aside, I just wanted you to know that schools aren't enough. So even if your kid is getting financial education in school, that is great. I'm not knocking it. But how can we as parents help our kids build healthy money habits? Because that's what I want to cover today. So at the end of this, I broke this out by ages. At the end of this, I want you to be able to take some of this and maybe take all of it and start to apply it in your own home today with your kids. So I'm going to stick around that where you can really start to influence a child and they understand a little bit of what you got going on. So the first place that I want to start is think about kids, kind of young kids around ages 3 to 7. Right, 3 to 7, and that's where I want to start with kind of this first part. This first section is what are some of those early money lessons for kids? Now, I'm going to start at this is what you can start at age 3 to 7. So let me preface this just a little bit so that you can understand how you can apply this. Because at the end, I want this to be applicable to your life. I want you to be able to take these points and immediately start to put them into use. The key is that even if your child is, let's say, 10 and you're just getting started, there's still opportunity to use some of the ages 3 to 7 stuff, right? Like there's still foundational value that they can gather from that. So don't think just because I'm put some ages on there that these are not usable by all ages. The key is that if your kid is falling into this window of time, these are some very, very, very valuable points that they can grasp, that they can hold on to, and they can start to learn from. Okay. So the first point that I wanted to talk about for the kids ages 3 to 7 is using a clear jar for savings. Use a way that a kid can see their savings. So that's kind of the first thing. It's the first thing that you can do, because what we want to show in that phase is we want young children to start to be able to see what savings is. Because you understand as an adult, as a parent, you understand that I can just move this money virtually from this account to this account and I have saved. Your child's not going to understand that. And I am no child psychologist by any means, but they want to be able to see like what they're learning. They want to see the action and the reward, right? So the action is I save the money. The reward is my clear jar grows faster. So use a clear jar instead of a piggy bank. Piggy banks are cute. They're cool, whatever, but let your child see your money grow. If it's in this enclosed bank, maybe you use a clear piggy bank. Okay. Like I got it. That's the cute clear thing, right? But with the piggy, but you want to allow your child to be able to see their money growing. This simple act of adding money, adding coins, adding dollars, adding whatever to a jar each week can make saving exciting and tangible because they can see it. They can visually see their money growing. Every time your child adds a coin, celebrate it, right? Celebrate that. That you got to say something like, hey, look how much you save. Look, isn't it cool to like watch your money grow? Talk to them about like what is this savings for? Like start to relate these things. It's all about learning the habits, getting excited about the habits. So that's kind of that first point is utilize visual cues like a clear jar, a clear piggy bank, whatever, just some way that they can see that money growing more than just this idea of like, well, you got $10 in your savings account, but you're as a parent holding on to it. Like, no, like show it to them, let them see it. It really, really makes a difference. The second thing that you can do is you've got to show that money is a tool, that it has value, right? The next time that they want something, and this is how we can kind of get around that, like teaching your child that to show money has value. The next time they want something like a toy or you're in the grocery store and they just want a candy bar or something like that, give them a few dollars from their piggy bank, right? Give them a few dollars from their piggy bank and let them hand it to the cashier. This reinforces the concept of this exchange of money for value, right? This exchange of like, I did something to earn this money that got into my piggy bank. And now I am getting to utilize this money to get something of value, something that I wanted, I was able to get because of this act. Now we've created this like habit loop, right? Now I'm going to be able to teach my child to put money into the bank, right? Teach that habit, builds that muscle so that I can get the value. I can get the reward, right? And now it's this loop, it's this habit loop. Oh, I need to get more money into my piggy bank or my clear jar because I want more things of value. I get more things of value. I want to put more money in, right? And so now I've created this loop that your child can embrace. So as kids get older, like that's just a very simple thing. As kids get older, they can start to understand more complex concepts about earning and saving, delayed gratification. But a 3 to 7 year old, like that's not where you should be putting your eggs in the basket, for a little metaphor there. But I want to talk about like that is phase one. And if your child's 10 and they don't know much about money, feel free to start there. Clear savings, teaching value. Clear savings, teaching value. See money save, see money spend. Valuable things happen when I save, right? Like that loop is what's beneficial. So kids get older, we can start handling more complex concepts, but that first part we really want to focus on is just teaching that value of saving. So what about when they get to ages like 8 to 12 and they reach elementary school? What can you do? Well, the first thing is they need to start earning money for work, right? They're 8 years old, 8 to 12 years old. That you need to start teaching kids that money is earned, not given. Concept one for that age group. This needs to be things like commission-based things, not allowances. Like you don't get $10 for just being a child. You don't do like, oh, like here's your 4 things to do. And if you do all these 4 things, you get this money, right? Like every week or whatever. Like instead, consider a system where they earn commissions for chores individually even, right? Like, hey, if you do this, like this is like you can create this as complex as you want, but hey, this is a little small task. Small tasks don't get big rewards, right? Like you don't do a minimum wage job and expect a 100K salary, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. So you can be as complex as you want. Like feel free to mess with this as much as you want. But what I'm trying to instill here is the idea that you want to teach that work leads to reward. And there's these little subliminal little teachings that you can do as well, where like higher quality, like better work gets you better rewards, right? Like, so you can say, do the dishes and you get $5, right? But if you do the dishes and they are immaculate at the end of it, you get $7.50 or $10, right? Like that starts to teach that the quality of work is just as good or better than that. You get more for quality over just, I did the chore, I did the thing, right? So you got to start teaching that. You create a system that says, when I do work as a child, I'm going to earn money. And if I've reinforced the habit that I've earned the money and I save the thing and I get the thing of value, I want to work more so that I can save the thing and get the thing of value, right? Like, you see how we're just adding to this concept of work, earn, get, work, earn, get. But instills the idea that work will lead to a reward. My work will lead to money that I can save, that I can then use to earn, to get something of value. But that's kind of the thing is you be the determination. You know your child better than anyone. So determine how it's going to best work with them. The key is that nobody just is given money. Just for being a child, you're not given money, right? Like, just teach that, like, you do work. You can do, based on quality. You can base on like the act itself. Like, maybe you start small and you get more complex, but all in all, you won't, if they take the trash out, if they mow the lawn, they get paid. But if they skip it, they don't. That teaches them money doesn't just appear. It is a result of the effort that was put in. And that's kind of that first point. The second point that I want to talk about for the ages 8 to 12 is they need to start to understand opportunity costs. They need to start to say, like, if you buy this, you can't buy that type of lesson, right? Teach your kid that, sometimes you're going to choose one thing and you're going to miss out on another. And that's okay. Like, that's a concept you've got to learn how to grasp. You can't have everything. It helps them value their money. It helps reinforce that value, right? Earlier when they were 3 to 7, they had money, they earned value, they probably were earning more than they even had a desire to get things, right? But now your kid's getting older and maybe there's like 4 or 5 things they want, but they're not earning money fast enough to get there, right? You've got to start to teach that opportunity cost. If your child is saving for a video game, remind them that buying candy or smaller toys is going to delay them getting that video game that they want, right? Start to teach that concept of like, hey, there's opportunity cost that you're giving up by spending this money. If you buy this little thing, it's going to take away from that big thing you're saving for. I just want you to know that. And if they're like, yeah, that's fine, they made that decision. So now when it rehashes and it says, hey, well, I really want that video game. Well, maybe you can put a plan together so they can work more and earn more money, but you could also use that as a teaching point to say, hey, you remember that little small gadget you got? That was an opportunity that you took away from the ability to get that game faster. So you've got to start teaching that. That'll help you transition to the third point that I had here, which was practicing delayed gratification, right? You've got to encourage a child to save for something meaningful instead of just buying on impulse. If every time they go to the store, they want something, but they're saving for a video game, and every time they go, they get something else small, they're not really staying disciplined for that thing they really want. And they'll probably fall off the boat. They'll stop working because they're just not getting that thing that they want. But you're missing a key point in that delayed gratification. You got to start to really use that opportunity cost conversation to drive you to teach delayed gratification, because those kind of go hand in hand, but one builds on the other. As they understand and grasp opportunity cost, you can start to tie in delayed gratification and the benefit of waiting, and show things like, start to introduce to, like, as they get closer to 12, start to introduce things about, how delayed gratification is beneficial for things like savings and investing and things like that. So as kids are entering those teenage years, they're, coming out of that elementary school phase, and they're kind of getting past the 12-year-old stage. They're entering the teenage years. They're going to be ready for more responsibility. And that is where we really, really, really get to take off in teaching them how money affects their future. Right. So we do all those things at the beginning, and we teach about these small little tweaks. We teach about, finally we get into, talking about earning money, talk about opportunity costs. We start talking about delayed gratification. But at age 13 till about the end of high school, age 18, man, we are really starting to get into the nuts and bolts of personal finance. The first thing that is a great opportunity for you is get them setting up a bank account. by high school, you should be helping your teen open a simple bank account. This teaches them about deposits. This teaches them about withdrawals, and it even helps them do that, getting to more of an adult type of savings where the money's not just sitting in a jar, dwindling away and eroding in value, but going to a savings account where at least they're earning some interest on that money. And that starts to teach them about interest and how compounding works and just how you see how this builds. It all builds. But that first point for, teenagers is get them set up in a bank account. Start introducing them to things like that. It makes them feel empowered. Like they see you with your bank account. They have a bank account. I remember my first checking account, man, like the deposits, the debit card, all those things. Like, man, it just makes you feel like you're finally getting there, right? You're finally getting there. Writing the checks, right? You don't have to teach your kid checkbooks anymore that much. You have online bill pay, and so they don't even have to write checks anymore. But they start teaching them about those things. You could go over their monthly statement together and explain what each transaction means, why it's important to track money, all those type of things. And once they have that bank account, that's where we can start really, really, really diving into budgeting. And we can look at budgeting basics. You can teach them about creating a simple budget. You can go over, hey, what type of expenses does this teenager have, right? There's little objects in there. Say, hey, like, you can come up with little deals that maybe they have a little small expense that they have to pay for, just to get them in the habit of saying, hey, like when you have a bill come in and you don't have enough money, what do? Right? You got to start to teach that stuff. So find little expenses that says, I'm making this up, and it probably sounds awful. Like this probably sounds like terrible parenting to most people, but it works. But maybe your kid loves playing video games. I'm going to keep using video games as a reference, but they love playing video games. Well, they do like online video games. And what does it take for them to do online video games? Internet, right? Internet. Maybe you say, hey, internet every month is going to cost you like $3 or something. Like you see how you could do something really small, but hey, for you to use the internet on that video game, like it's going to be, you got to have this expense. It's $3 a month for internet. You can start to introduce very, 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 very basic things and empower your child to understand what an expense is. That things don't fall off trees, right? So just some budgeting basics where they create a little simple budget. They have their income that they can see. They have these little small expenses that they can see, whether that be a toy budget, a candy budget, whatever budget. And they fill those things out, and you can even help them set up like some type of like online, whether it be Excel, or they can do pen and paper, or they can do like a little online budgeting app, or whatever the case is. Help them start to understand budgeting. The next thing is start introducing them to debt and what debt is and how to avoid getting into debt. Just a really good thing, because when they get to college, they're going to be flooded with credit card offers. They're going to be talked to about all these great rewards and travel packages and all that. Talk to them early about that. And then that last point, and I kind of ran these together, but I'll rehash them so you can remember what they are. But the fourth point is you've got to start talking to them about the power of compound interest, because ages 20 till retirement are crucial. And if you can teach your child about compound interest early, between ages 13 to 18, they're eager and ready. By the time they get to their true like earning years, I guess you could say, after high school, they are ready and they are going to get after it, and they're going to be good to go. So compound interest can be a teen's best friend, because that is the prime time to get started investing and saving and all those things. So show them how even saving small amounts like $5 or $10 can grow exponentially, right? It's just a wonderful thing. Use an online compound interest calculator or something to show how that $10 or $20 a month can grow significantly over the next few decades, right? So real quick, just to rehash those, the age 13 to 18, set up a bank account. Do some budgeting basics, like give them some expenses, some small expenses, just so they can understand how a budget works. Income minus expense. Do some discussions around debt and credit cards. Talk to them about that so it's not foreign to them. And then talk to them about the power of compound interest. It's kind of the four key things that you can do for those teenagers. No matter the age, the one powerful lesson we can enforce is the value of giving. So talk to them about being generous. Talk to them about, showing gratitude with their money. Just something that you can do. Giving, it teaches kids that money isn't about just getting more. And this is probably the lesson that many people fail at. They instill in their child that you just need to get more, and it creates a passion, a love, just like a weird concept of like of have and don't have of money. You got to teach your kids that giving back to something is very important. Encourage them. Choose a charity that they care about, and say, hey, just donate a small portion of this. That habit, it fosters empathy and contentment. It fosters a healthy relationship with money, right? Because that is key. They need to understand the power of giving. You've got to teach kids that happiness doesn't come from material things. You've got to teach them that. You've got to remember, early on in their money life, they were just saving in this clear jar, and they were getting things of value. Saving in the clear jar, getting things of value, which makes them want to save in the clear jar and get things of value. You have to start there, because that is key. But once they get past their teenage years and once they get into adult life, they need to understand about the value of giving and the value of combating consumerism, of the battle of just wanting to spend outrageously. You've got to teach them that gratitude is key to long-term financial health. At the end of each month, ask your kids to reflect on, hey, what are they grateful for? What is something that, that they feel like that they want to build a habit around giving to, and encourage them to do it, and show them how. Help them find those charities that they can give back to. But all of those are really, really key points. So if you do those things, I'm telling you, your kid will just be light years ahead in life, just in life. Because if they can understand money, and I talk about this, and I've talked about this with many in the past, but you walk around and you see people and they're stressed out of their mind over money. You don't see it in them. Like, you don't see it, but they cannot be who they really are, because they are burdened by money, burdened by their current financial situation. And if we can build people, if we can build the next generation of people that are coming up with a strong foundational mindset, think about all the impact that can happen, because they're not walking around burdened by finances. That they can truly go and be a light, be an impact to others, right? Like, such a beautiful thing. So I'm hoping that you kind of take these, that you teach these in your home, that you start to create a foundation with your kids that they can build on for the rest of their lives. Because whether it's earning, budgeting, or learning to give, all of those lessons are invaluable. And you can teach them inside of your home with nothing more than a small jar, right? So start small, pick one or two tips if kind of feels overwhelming, but go ahead and start today. Start to begin to implement these with your kids. Small steps can have a big impact over time. Ultimately, I like to end with this, but financial stability is not just about numbers. It is about making informed, responsible choices. Because if you will give these tools early to your kids, it will set them up for a lifetime of financial confidence. They will start to walk through life chest a little higher, head a little higher, just eager to take on all the opportunity that falls in their lap, because they are good financial stewards of their money. Good financial stewards of their money. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I really hope that you got something out of it, because, man, I'm telling you, if you can start to implement this now, your kids will dominate. They will dominate in the financial world, and they will not be set back and have these like 10-year, stagnant moments where they are just kind of just, moving sideways financially, not really gaining any traction. So feel free to take these and implement them today, not tomorrow, but today. Now, If you do need some help kind of getting your finances on track and so that you can start to teach these things confidently, have your chest a little higher, your head a little higher, just head over to thefinancialmirror.org and hit book now. Schedule a free consultation with me. We'll sit down and we'll make sure that your finances are good to go, that you're just a good representation for an example for your kids to see, and we will get started today. I truly appreciate everyone tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share this episode with everyone that you know. If they've got kids, this episode is exactly what they need to start building and growing confidence in their kids' financial life. So till next week, continue improving the one thing you can control, yourself. Peace.
Well, that wraps up today's Financial Mirror. Join us next week as we continue to work on ourselves, change our mentality, and to commit to achieving the success we always envisioned. Regardless of your platform, help us grow as a community. Please like, subscribe, and share with the people in your lives.